Alright guys, welcome back to the Bang Boy Variety channel. Today's video we're going to be doing is currency lesson number 3, sub lesson number 2. This sub lesson is going to be featuring the next issue in the $50 interest bearing note category. However, with this note, I was not able to find an image of the March 3rd, 1863 5% interest over 1 year note. So instead of just describing it to you, I'm going to actually try and show it. Since most of these interest-bearing note counterparts of this, since most of these interest-bearing notes of this issue here have basically the same design as their compound interest treasury note counterparts, I actually have the $50 compound interest treasury note, which looks basically the same as this interest-bearing note, with the exception of having compound interest treasury note printed over the front and a 50 counter in green ink. So all we have to do is kind of just explain how they would be different in that, but they have basically the same vignettes on them. So first, what we're going to go over here is who's on the note. Grab the wrong book. So, I believe that the allegorical figure that appears in this note is Loyalty, has the name of Loyalty, and then either Alexander, I think that's Alexander Hamilton on there. Yes. Justice with Shield and Loyalty, aka Liberty. Portrait of Alexander Hamilton. So this is basically what the interest-bearing note looks like, except it did not have the compound interest treasury note wording, obviously because it's not a compound interest treasury note, and this 50 counter up here is not there. What it did have, if we took all this out, this would be white and plain with the signatures there. This actually has some sort of green shape. It covers up with that, with $50 over that, and the signatures within it, I believe. So that is that. Like I blacked out the serial numbers obviously for that. The back is basically the same as this, except the interest table is not there. Instead, it has a legal tender notice and a counterfeiting notice on it instead, like most interest-bearing notes have. So minus the interest table and put that in place, and that would be the note. So it's not exactly that, but I could not find a design, an image for that. And we're going to do one more note today as well, and that is the $50 interest-bearing note of March 3rd, 1863, 5% interest over 2 years. So the last one was over 1 year, this one is over 2. I was not able to find a back design for this note, so I will have to describe that to you. But for the front, what it is it features a vignette of a seated woman titled Caduceus. At the center is Justice with Shield, also known simply as Justice, and then to the right is Loyalty, which is also in the other note. So there are no presidents or any senators or anything on here, just allegorical figures. So I need to revert back to this to explain which is which here. So to the left of face, which would be here, is Justice seated, I believe. A seated woman called Caduceus. It's not Justice. In the center is Justice with Shield, and then Loyalty. So Caduceus, Justice with Shield, and then Loyalty there. We have larger red spike seal there. And there are not any values given for either of these notes except auction values. So how much they sold for at auctions and the auctions that they were sold at and their sale numbers and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that because obviously neither of those notes that were sold at that auction are probably in private hands, and those private hands have probably no intention of selling it anytime soon, so you're not going to be able to get your hand on them. Probably most of these you're not going to be able to get your hands on unless you're a professional numismatist and you have a lot of money and you're going to buy one of these at auction, because there's been several times where many of these have sold for millions of dollars, these interest-bearing notes. So because they are the rarest piece of United States currency, so that's why it's a little bit harder to find images for that. So throughout this currency lesson, some issues we might not have images for. All right, and for the back design, it is basically rectangular here. It's all green with 250 counters to the left and right, and then the middle is the legal tender and counterfeiting clauses, and then United States of America all around that, and then lots of vignettes all around that, all in rich green color. So guys, that is going to be it for currency lesson number 3, sub lesson number 2. So please leave a like and subscribe, so that helps out the Bang No Boy Variety channel.